Welcome to Costa Teguise. It's Sunday, the fishermen are out, and we thought we'd just take a walk along the boardwalk, along the waterfront, and take you for a stroll, share a little bit about what's going on in the local area, tell you a little bit about what's going on with Yvonne and I, with our plans with the channel, how to get out of the UK, why we're here in Lanzarote for as long as we've been here. It's pretty much the objective of the video, so thanks for joining me. My name is John. If you're new here, I make videos, a little bit about travel, about life, everything that comes along at you, work, partner, your family, and anything else that's worth a conversation, and also the hot topic of the UK and living in the UK. So let's go on a little stroll. Let's spin you around. In terms of location, we are at the far end of Costa Teguise, the end of this boardwalk. If you fancy a stroll along here, it goes as far as this beautiful villa here, and then the path effectively stops. And you can spin round and then walk the path that we're about to walk. However, if you're coming to Costa Teguise anytime soon, there is a massive building site here. But with it being Sunday, it's quiet. There's no work going on today, but Monday through Saturday, you're definitely going to hear it. All right, let's take a stroll. The windsurfers, kite surfers, and all the kind of water sports enthusiasts have been out the last couple of days. It's been amazing to see. I've enjoyed going down the harbour front and just watching people get their kit sorted out and then head out onto the water. There's actually 4 or 5 in the distance across here. I have never done any kind of windsurfing or kite surfing, but I'll tell you what, watching them and the speeds that they pick up, it actually looks kind of cool. I probably wouldn't mind giving it a go. It's Sunday here, so we're going to have a walk through and see what's going on the Sunday afternoon, see what's opened. And in the time that we've been here, we've pretty much just been crying out for a roast dinner, a Sunday roast dinner. We haven't so far managed it, but that is today's objective, is to find somewhere decent that we can get a nice roast dinner. We did go to an Irish bar a couple of weeks ago. I can only describe the dinner as TV dinner style, boil in the bag. It was like one of those old bird's eye roast dinner meals that we used to get when we didn't know any better. It was like one of them, so we're trying to find an official dinner today. This is when you really just want like a Toby Cabaret, right? Just want to walk into a Toby Cabaret and get a 3-meat selection. Oh, I'm making myself think about it now. There's a hotel on the right-hand side here that kind of has its own laguna, like water coming through. I've no idea how the water gets from the sea. What's it called? A lido. Yvonne tells me it's called a lido. But we actually almost booked a room to stay here on this trip because we couldn't quite find somewhere suitable price-wise. We almost booked a room in here, but we didn't. But yeah, there's this water round about the rooms, which is kind of cool. So let's talk a little bit about why we're here, how long we've been here for, how we've made it work. The first part, why we're here. This was the first opportunity that we've had, Yvonne and I, in our lives and in our time together. 30 years this year, 3-0. And we've never ever been away from home together or separate for any longer than 2 weeks. 2 weeks is the longest holiday we've ever had. And so we decided, given the start to this year, and the plans that we had, which is to try and make some efforts to escape the UK. And Yvonne's had, oh, that was me nearly hitting the deck. If only the camera had been on me. That would have been a viral moment right there, me face planting onto the concrete. Yvonne's had quite a challenging start to the year, just trying to juggle looking after me and my health issues and everything that was going on, the loss of my job, just being a supportive partner. It's been quite stressful. So we decided that we would take this opportunity to come back to Lanzarote, because the last 2 trips I had kidney stone issues. The health was just really plaguing the trip, meaning that we didn't feel too comfortable to get out and about and do things, just in case anything happened medically. We did need medical attention, which was quite expensive at Christmas time. So we thought, well, let's come out and we'll spend a month here. So we've been here bar a couple of days for close to a month. And the plan was come out. First of all, see if we can last a month away from home without worrying about it. Secondly, what does it cost? How much do we need to live on? Thirdly, can we do it with very little possessions with us? Can we actually go travel light, nomad style? And I'm pleased to say, as this draws to an end, we've had a great time. It's been exactly what we needed, relaxing, enjoying making content a few days. Yvonne's been working a few days, and then in between taking some time off to just relax around the island. And it's been a perfect example as to how we can make it work. So that part has been good now. Let's see. Don't know if you can see the guys. Do you know what's amazing? The water is all the way up to the wall here, which it hasn't been in previous days. So the tide is well in today as we walk along. So that's the end of that hotel, the Lido. And we'll carry on along the beachfront for a stroll. So yeah, the objective was to try and see, could we do it? I know that sounds like, how hard can it be? You're only away for a month. But you know, being away from family and friends, being together for so long, you just want to test out the waters a little bit. So we have done that. It's been perfect. We're getting ready to head back and then turbocharged into the rest of our plans, which is to figure out how we're clearing out the rest of our house before we make bigger steps, with the goal of August being the target to take that extended break. So that's quite exciting. So I thought I'd tell you. Now, partly one of the reasons why I'm taking you on this walk today is because since we've been here, we've tried our hardest to maintain tried our best to maintain a 10k steps a day challenge. We haven't managed it every day, but we've overcompensated on a couple of, we've had a day off. So we've overcompensated with some extra steps on other days to try and balance that out. I had a look last night in my little non-working step watch. And on my phone, on the app on my phone, it was telling me that our average for this month was 9,000 steps. So I'm feeling quite fit and reinvigorated from these daily walks. I think that's probably a homage to my father with his 2 walks a day and putting me to shame. I'm just going to show you this camper van here, right, because there's something kind of funny about it. I saw this the other day and I thought, God, that looks amazing. But I'm not going to get too close because I don't want to freak them out. But there's a bra hanging off the wing mirror. I don't know if you can see that. It's pink. It's like right there. So they've obviously been in the water, but great camper van. I'd love one of them, but you know fine well the cost of that's got to be like 120 grand. It's a little expensive. I know there's cheaper options. We actually went to the camper van show last year at Christmas just to have a look around because it was an idea. We were floating that lifestyle. But I'm just not sure I want to be tied down to a camper van. All right, we're jumping around topics, but the 10K step challenge, so you're on the Sunday 10K challenge with us now. Let's see how we get on. It's such a pleasant walk round here. I think bar one Sunday that we had the day off, we've walked this every single day. In varying degrees of weather, that's for sure. Today is 20 to 22. There's always a breeze here in Lanzarote. You never escape it. I mean, we're on the waterfront, but it's beautiful, it's cooling. And I saw an article in the Daily Mail. I'll try and put it up on the screen now, but I saw an article about the weather this week in the UK, where it was showing, I think, something like 22 degrees or 24 degrees, and it had that luminous orange, the country is burning alive tinge to it. And then I looked at the Lanzarote weather chart and it was just normal sunshine they were showing for 22 degrees. It's funny how in the UK, we process 22 degrees as the country's burning to the ground, literally. But yeah, here in Lanzarote, 22 degrees is just considered a sunny day. Do you remember it used to just be a sunny day in the UK? I digress. So the windsurfers are out today, and we're walking around now to where the kind of beachfront bar section is, restaurants, which I've shown in a couple of clips. The first few times that we walked this route, there's a hotel just over here, large hotel. We didn't know you could actually walk round this section. It kind of looked like it was private land, but actually it's open round. There's a couple of really nice beaches and a few areas. If you want to go watch the windsurfing, you can do that. Oh yeah, there's all these little, it'll be hard to see in the distance here, but just at the edge of the sand area, there's these little built up areas, little coves, which have been built out of rocks. I don't want to get too close because I don't know if you can see, but there's people in that one. It's almost like, it's like a windbreaker, a concrete stone built windbreaker using all the kind of volcanic ash rocks that the island is famous for. Oh, the water is so close in now, wow. Let's go and have a look. Wow, look at that. I've never seen it so far right up to that area. That's crazy. Hopefully the wind is okay on the camera, it's not too disruptive. But you see these coves here? There's a few of them built around. So it's these things here. You can see it's a little stone area where if you want to camp in, you can do that. Protect yourself a little bit from the wind. All right, let's take a walk around. This is the hotel that I was talking about here, which we thought was private land at this side, but you can actually walk around it, no issue. All right, let's carry on. So, 10K step challenge per day. I think we've done pretty well. I'll summarise that once the time here is finished, see how we get on. Is that just me? You come on holiday and you give yourself little personal challenges, like must do this every day. Gamify it, yeah, gamify the trip away. As you walk around this area here, there are a lot of stray cats on the island and a lot of food in bowls get left out here. There's actually a couple here. I've never really been a cat person, but strangely they seem to constantly be drawn to me these days, and I've quite enjoyed feeding the occasional cat around. We actually have one that comes through our front door at home. We thought it was our neighbours. We went to the neighbours before we left to talk to them, and we were like, oh, well, your cat? And they were like, we don't have a cat. So I've no idea whose cat I've been feeding, but I thought it was the neighbours. Here's the pigeons are actually eating the cat's food. So people must come and leave the food out. There's bowls there of water, food for the cats. Here's the bay. Isn't that good? Isn't that nice? But this is the end of the hotel that I was talking about. There's a gym here, which looks like it does kind of CrossFit style classes. They're sometimes out here doing rope climbs or volleyball. So let's talk a little bit about the plans to leave the UK and where we're at. I've given a few updates on that over the past weeks, and I know that people have been messaging me and asking me what's happening. So we knew we were coming here, first of all, a little trial run. So we kind of set that objective in our minds. Let's do that and then see how it goes. And beyond that, we've been waiting for the approval from Yvonne's work to take that career break. The company have a process in place, which is really helpful. Started that process at the beginning of the year with the conversations that she needed to have with the various management team. All of that was done. The official submission was put into the company 21st of March, Yvonne tells me, 21st of March with a 2-week SLA attached to it. So 21st of March, 2-week SLA. I've got no idea what today's date is, but it's at the end of April. It's definitely beyond 2 weeks, and I'll tell you where we're at. Nothing has happened. The company are waiting for somebody from HR to return from their holiday. And even though the company has thousands of employees, only one person in the entire organisation has the authority to sign it off. So we continue to wait for that person to return from their seemingly unending holiday, and then hopefully we can get the go-ahead to move forward. But it's funny how these things become so frustrating, right? You're just waiting on a small decision. Management say, yep, we support this. Goes to higher management, they say, yep, we support this. Management don't have the final say. Some guy in HR has the final say. He's on holiday. He's late back from his holiday. Nobody else can deal with it. Why do staff members get frustrated with their companies again? Yeah, well, so hopefully we'll get that resolved fairly quickly. Then we can start to think about making confirmed plans for the rest of the year before we have to take any other action. It's exciting, right? But let's have a look here. Here's the tennis courts that I showed you in one of the other videos. Let's have a look at what they look like now. Would you be up for a game? Honestly, see these things. Why? Why do people do it? Right, let's put the camera through it. So there is the tennis court. It's a little bit wrecked. But the beach makes up for it. Okay, let's take a walk. The beach is so quiet today. Certainly this part here, the tide is really far in. It's very different from what it's been like the last few days we've been down here. It's never been anywhere close to this end, but that's... Wow, you're describing the tide, John. Yeah, that's how the tide works. It comes in and it goes out. It's like clockwork. It's like science. All right, so here's the kind of town square area that was so heavily affected before. Absolutely spotless now. Just a great job that they've done. Everything has been cleaned and tidied. So yes, in terms of the escape from the UK, this was the trial run. It's been successful. And next comes the longer breakaway aimed for August, which means when we get back home in a matter of days, the next tasks are to start getting through more of our items. So Vinted will be getting attacked when we get back home. We're going to be listing as quickly as we possibly can. See how we can financially support ourselves by getting away. And hopefully Yvonne's job gives us the green light to take that career break, which then means we've got the safety of a fallback job, Yvonne's job, and I'll just carry on being unemployed. Kind of feel like I've settled into it now. Early retirement, that's it. 47, early retirement. And my plan is to share exactly how I've made that happen with you as best I can.
How you can.
And the bridge is still damaged here.
Thank you. If it's not a hat, it's a shoe. Brilliant, thank you.
So just at this side here, you can see all the black ash has been put back down now. So the council workers were here filling all that in. In fact, a pile of it is just over there. But this was all covered in that kind of dirty sand that got washed down from the hills. You can still see some of it around this side. That's pretty much what it looked like everywhere. But now they've been down doing this work, putting this black stuff down just to kind of protect the land a little bit better. Done a good job. The last couple of days, I've definitely been learning lots on YouTube. It's been an interesting journey since starting in January. I mean, I've been using YouTube for a long, long time and I kind of know the ins and outs of it. And posting videos so far, it's been successful, but still a learning process. And obviously a couple of days ago, I shared a video about the sun and some plans by the UK government to think about how we manage the sun. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link up above. You can check that out. But that was my very first ever video to be flagged by YouTube. And it was flagged because of the language and content that I used. If you've seen that video, you're probably thinking, what? And if you haven't seen that video, it's worth watching to just understand exactly what YouTube tends to monitor, because it's quite interesting. And I've also read all the comments that people have shared with me and paying attention and responding to those. People were asking lots of questions, but again, it's worth mentioning, you have to be so careful what you're talking about and how you present it. And that's a learning curve that I'm tiptoeing that line every day, because I want to cover certain topics, but also realizing I'm trying to build a channel here and a following. But it's a little insight into putting content on YouTube and censorship and all of those kind of things that go with it. Whilst I'm talking about that topic, let me also just mention, just surpassed 5,500 followers, which at the start of the year would have just seemed impossible. So to everybody who's joined over the last days, weeks, and since the beginning, thank you so much. Can't say thanks enough. It's been rather overwhelming, but incredibly satisfying at the same time. And also giving me the opportunity to have a way out of the normality and the system that we've all been part of at some point. But at 47, I feel the urge to no longer be part of it. And this is a way out. So thanks for making that happen. I appreciate it. And whilst I'm mentioning just a couple of targets rolling by, the channel also just hit over 300,000 views, which again is rather mind-blowing to me. My dad, who had his own little channel, would have been absolutely tickled pink by that. He would have found that very interesting, very encouraging. and a little bit inspiring, I hope. You know, my dad had his own YouTube channel. I helped him start it a couple of years ago. And if you're thinking about starting YouTube and you're like, I don't know what to talk about, I don't know what to cover, it's really easy. Just pick whatever you care about, whatever matters to you. Let's cut around this way. And I'll tell you what, you know, they talk about niches, right? Find a niche, talk about that niche. And I've asked here before, what is my niche? Because I honestly don't, I'm struggling to understand what it is. And some very kind viewers said the niche is you. So thank you for that, I appreciate that. I can only be me on this channel. But my dad's niche, you know what his channel used to be dedicated to? He was an Airdrie football supporter. He wasn't always an Airdrie football supporter. His long-term partner lived in Airdrie, and whilst he was dating her for all of those years, he would occasionally go to a game. And when my dad's partner passed away, he couldn't bear to let go of the fandom, so he kept it up, and he ended up becoming involved in the team, Airdrie, and that gave him a lot of excitement and a real buzz late in retirement. But he used to put a camera, a GoPro, in the back of the net. I told him, start a channel, call it the back of the net, stick your GoPro there and video the goals. And that was his niche. He put a GoPro at the back of the goal and watched the ball going in the net, and did a tiny little couple of video clips and posted it to YouTube. So don't tell me you can't find your niche to start your channel, because if a GoPro in the back of an Airdrie football net isn't encouragement enough, nothing will be. And to the people that have messaged me recently who've started their channel saying, you know, they found some encouragement from it all and started a channel, good on you. I wish you the absolute best. I've subscribed to a few of you who have mentioned the beach today, it's looking good. I've subscribed to a few people who messaged me about that, so thank you. I'll keep an eye on your channels, and if you need any help or advice, or you want to just shoot the breeze, drop me a note, we can chat. Right, so we're now the promenade area, the bars that were closed before, some of them have reopened, some are still closed for refurbishment. But there's a good crowd out today. And if you come to Lanzarote and you're looking for a scooter, they are available. Yvonne and I have been debating when we're going to be old enough to get in one. Aussie! I don't know if we should be trusted to go around with a scooter. Now, one of the goals about coming out here for this month was to see if we could travel super light. So we actually just have one bag with us. A flamingo. We have one bag with us between us, and we brought enough clothes to last roughly 5 days. And the rest of the time we've just been washing and floating around those clothes, because we thought every time we go on holiday we bring away like what you think on a 2 weeks holiday you're going to need, and then you end up coming with like months worth of clothes. This time we were coming for a month and we said, let's not bring a month of clothes. So we brought 5 days worth to work through. Lots of the bars are open today so far. This one's still being refurbished, which is the Irish Bailey, still being refurbished. But the Dolphin Inn, the Cutty Shark, they're all open today. So we have our 5 days worth of clothes with us. We've just been, Yvonne's been keeping us sorted, keeping us well looked after while we're away. You know, one of the things that I've been enjoying when I've been here is just the bar service, staff service. Is our experience so far has been really friendly, really chatty. People are kind of happy to see you, and I know there's a lot of discussion about protests in Spain. and in Lanzarote about tourists coming here. We have had no issues. I haven't seen anything, I haven't seen any signs. But also the tipping culture, and this was something I read about this morning online about America. The tipping culture is just, it's kind of taken on a life of its own. If you've been to America recently, you might know what I'm talking about, but very first time I ever went to America in the early 2000s, I can remember tipping in a bar being like 10%, 15%, or if you were a baller, 20%, right? You could do 20% on the machine, or it would be left on your till receipt. But we were just in America last year, and that tipping culture had changed to now being, it was like 20%, 30%, or 50% of your till receipt, your bill, was supposed to be handed over as a tip. Now, I'm all for, I've always supported tipping staff with a reasonable amount. 20% always felt pretty generous to me. But when businesses are asking for 50% now, it's like, what the, you know, customers are being asked to pick up the bill of staff's wages shortages. How about companies just pay their staff better? I know that's the age-old topic, right? Just pay people better, but companies rely on you, guilt you into doing it. But what I noticed with the last few trips was just who was asking for tips. You go into like a chemist to get a bottle of water and they spin the machine round and like, do you want to give a tip? And you're like, you just rung it through. I got it. I got the bottle of water from the fridge. You just rung it through. I could have done that if this was a self-service checkout. And then they're like, spin the screen round, 50% tip. You're like, on a $4 bottle of water? So I was reading about this morning, tipping culture. And one of the places that was talking about it, it was somebody posting about the impact of recent changes in America on tourism in Las Vegas. The person that was making the post was blaming Donald Trump for the drop in numbers in Las Vegas. Now, without getting into the politics of all of that, let's be clear. Las Vegas and their hotels have been on the grift for years. It used to be you would go to Las Vegas and the hotel room would be cheap as chips. And you get down into the casino and gamble and you would get a free drink and you would get free parking and you might get a room upgrade. You might get a few perks here and there. When you go to Vegas now, right, the room is expensive, a couple of $100 per night, maybe $100 per night. You get to the hotel and there's a resort fee. You go to park your car and there's parking fees, and then there's a tip for the concierge, and then you go to order a drink and it's like $30 for a cocktail, $10 for a beer, $8 for a water. And then people wonder, why is tourism down in Las Vegas? Because people can't afford it. People cannot afford to spend that amount of money. Well, some can, but Vegas was always seen as like the Blackpool of America, right? Cheap as chips. Well, it's not cheap anymore. People have kind of had enough. Look at this huge space here, which is being a hotel that's going to be built, and nothing has happened. Such a shame, because it's such a premium area of real estate that just doesn't get any attention. It's a shame. I'm sure somebody must snap it up at some point, but not yet. So yeah, Vegas, it's struggling. They say tourism is down. They're not saying it's a sign of incoming recession and that's Trump's fault. But come on, take some responsibility, people. You ramp the prices up at every single area, and then you wonder why people don't come and stay. Well, look at yourselves first. I haven't been to Vegas in a couple of years now. Been to America, but not to Vegas in a couple of years. I do enjoy it, but it's just so expensive for Brits to travel there. The flights, so wildly expensive. And I'll tell you what the next industry is that will suffer like that and will be asking, how is this happening? In fact, it's happening now. but the concert industry, festival industry, the entertainment industry, because artists are putting these incredibly expensive gigs on, charging hundreds of dollars. Beyonce was the one I was watching the other day. You can now buy tickets to her SoFi Stadium concert in San Francisco for $20. They were $400. They're $20 now up in the nosebleeds because nobody wants them. Beyonce ain't as popular as she thought she was. Now, a little bit more back at home. I don't know if you've seen in the last couple of days, but there's been a lot of press from the UK talking about the change of housing migrants into the UK and using properties rented from landlords. There is a big push asking for landlords to come forward and suggest their properties with 5-year contracts available, covering all costs for the property, including all the damages that may be left behind afterwards. And so Serco, there is a list online of the company Serco who are responsible for processing migrants, prisoners, processing their food, looking after their money that they need, taking people to court cases in vans. That's all Serco. Well, one of Serco's major investors, a company I talked about just a couple of days ago, a gentleman who was in the UK in January for a meeting with Keir Starmer, Mr. Larry Fink, and of course BlackRock. So when you see journalists submitting freedom of information requests to ask what the meeting with BlackRock and Keir Starmer was about and why you can't get an answer, and then you find out that BlackRock, major investor in Serco, and Serco filling the country in every available space. If you've got kids, youngsters, in their teens, and you're thinking about when they're going to be able to move out, buy a house, rent a place, if the government is actively taking up every available rental space in the country, what do you think it does to prices? It takes them to a level that most won't be able to afford. That's a story worth keeping an eye on. Let's see how that progresses. And I read this morning, Sunday, that Angela Rayner is threatening to quit the Labour Party, quit her position as Deputy Prime Minister, because she's now stating that she thinks it's going to be hard to deliver the 1.5 million homes that she's responsible for building. The 1.5 million homes, remember, that when Labour were coming into power said were for British citizens to be able to get onto the property ladder, rent accommodation, youngsters to be able to fill those houses. And then when they came into power, that position changed. Those properties, 1.5 million, are now going to be used to house migrants coming out of hotels. And today she's in the paper, well, the story that's in the paper is that she's threatening to quit because, guess what? They might not be able to build the 1.5 million households. So she's not going to quit. She's never leaving that position. But she is, however, telling you right now that they're not going to build the 1.5 million, they're going to miss that target. So she's up in arms about it. Yeah, if you believe that. So we're at the far end of the walk round the promenade now, before we head off towards the power plant. Can hear the birds tweeting over my shoulders here. Anyway, I digress on those topics. It's just nice to stroll along on a Sunday with the sun out, chat about a couple of these things. Whilst I'm at that, and as I mentioned earlier, say a quick thanks to everybody that's subscribed, but I want to call out a couple of viewers specifically. Say a personal thanks. A couple of the regular followers that get engaged in all of the chat. I know when I look at the statistics, my viewership is heavily weighted towards men. So hello, gents, everybody watching today. Thank you for joining in, and I recognise that most of you just watch and don't comment, so that's okay. kind of do the same myself when I'm watching YouTube. But yes, in terms of my female viewership, you are significantly more active when it comes to the chat back and forth. So thank you so much. I love the engagement. And I know it's not all women that message me. There are plenty of gentlemen, but in terms of the volume, that tends to come from some of my female viewers. But let's give a couple of shout outs. On the men's list, Craig Scott. Craig, buddy, thank you so much for all of the regular messages. I hope you're well. I hope the gigs are going well, mate. Look after yourself, and thanks for always getting in touch. I hope we can catch up soon. And also, Ocean. I have to say that name because I'm so disrespectful. I never learn what the official pronunciation is. Or do I? Ocean. Ocean, thank you so much for all the messages, buddy. I always love seeing what you're commenting on my chit chat from the UK. And then as I jump onto the females list, I'd like to say thank you so much to Jean Smith. Always a pleasure. Jean, I hope if you're listening to this, you'll take what I'm about to say in the absolute kindest possible way. Now that I've prefaced that, every time I see your name, Jean, it triggers a little something in me. And that's because my granny's name was Jean. And I'm not saying you're like my granny, but for some reason, it's just such a friendly little encouraging response when I see your name. I go, oh, and I think about my granny. So thanks for that little prompt. But Jean, thanks for all the messages. And Marina, always on the comms. Thank you so much. I see how many messages you've posted. Susan Wood, thank you, Susan. I appreciate you. Christine Hillier. Christine, always on the chat, always watching videos, I think from the very beginning. And then in top place, special call out, Victoria House. Hey Victoria, I know I've mentioned you before. Prolific on the messages. I love seeing what your thoughts are. So thanks everybody. Just a little moment to say that I appreciate you. That is not an exclusive or exhaustive list. Happy to add people and see commentary as every video gets posted up. Beach looks amazing today. The water's pretty high up though. People are definitely much further back than normal. And then this big beautiful hotel here, which a few of the viewers had mentioned to me have stayed in. The pool looks great. Thanks everybody that got in touch, told me about the hotel. There's a little look back at where we've came from so far. I'll spin round this way and carry on this walk. Such a beautiful, lovely, warm day. I'll flip this back for a second onto me. Somebody messaged the other day and was asking me if I was AI. Yvonne's with me as well. Give a wave, Yvonne. Yeah, there was a gentleman out with us, I'll start that again. There was a gentleman who messaged me about one of my other Lanzarote videos asking if I was AI. So I'm not sure if they program AI with Glaswegian accents.
It's all real.
I'm all real. Yeah, somebody messaged me, so hopefully that clarifies. I'm not AI. And I'll tell you what I also found funny. When I read the comments, right, this is a real learning curve for YouTube. If you're starting a page on YouTube, just to get used to people's interactions with you. But I posted the video the other day about the twin sisters from Australia. And I think I was pretty clear in saying that I thought they were great, that I found them amazing, that I loved their chat. I thought I was pretty clear in that. Comments would suggest otherwise. I don't know where people get the idea that I was kind of trying to take the mick. I did laugh, I'll admit, I did chuckle, but how could you not? They're amazing. They've got in-sync chat and they're telling a hilarious story about an incredibly dangerous encounter. What is not to enjoy about that news story? But I appreciated somebody that got in touch with me to tell me that I don't even know how to talk myself. And that news, N-E-W-S, the news, or as I was being accused of saying it, the news, which is my Scottish accent. So thanks, Gil. Thanks, Gil, for your friendly message correcting my use of the English language. Right, let's spin this round and carry on this journey. I'll show you this section here, right? There's a beautiful hotel here. And see this wall, the weather that I was showing you the other week there. All of the fencing has been destroyed and blown off the wall. Look, it literally ripped off every part of the wall. That's how extreme the winds were. This is all nearly broken away here, so it's pretty damaging. So many people come along here on scooters or electric bikes, or those those carts where you can pedal 4 people at a time in it. And you always see a family like mum, dad and the 2 kids on them, and only dad is pedaling. Sweat's absolutely peeing off his face. The rest of the family are just sitting there like, come on, dad. He's pushing a bike with 4 people on it. Anyway, you see them coming around here all the time. And it's a rather nice sight, cycling along here. For us, we walk it. But I'll tell you a little insider bit of tourist information. Right at this corner here, there is some kind of sewage dispensary. And the breeze that comes from the mainland crossing this way makes this little corner here, this lamppost, a particularly unpleasant experience. Every time we walk around here, everyone goes, hold your breath. There's actually a bench here for people to sit down at. You could not sit there. You'd die. That's rough. And it's past. So there's a little pathway here that takes you back into town where a couple of the bars and restaurants are. Okay, so we have made it to a junction where you can either carry on the walk down that way and that'll take you almost towards the power plant. Kids swing park here, a beautiful cafe here where you can sit and have a drink. So that's a little walkthrough, a few discussion points, telling you a little bit about what's going on with Yvonne and I and our time here in Lanzarote. And I think that's probably good enough for today's video. A little walk and talk. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and I will be back in tomorrow's video. Let me know down in the comments any suggestions, anything you would like me to cover, any feedback. Perhaps you just want to correct me on how I say the word news. I'm always happy to hear from you. Have a great Sunday. Go find a roast dinner, and I'll see you in the next video. Right, this is future John cutting in. We just stopped off at a place called Kitty's, and Kitty's had a roast dinner on. Now, if you're going to have a roast, it can only be one of 2 things, beef or chicken. I'd go a stretch to say turkey, but it should not be lamb. If your number 1 is lamb on a roast dinner, have a word with yourself. Anyway, we got to Kitty's, and today's roast dinner selection was lamb or gammon. So I had a little gammon roast dinner, and I'll show you a bit of footage, and I would recommend Kitty's. It was a homely cooked meal. Thanks, Kitty. Anyway, back to the walk.